Okay. So, Sarita, like, I was looking at all of the stuff on Rap-ish. I'll say that for my little audiences. And I was like, well, which rapper is she? And then you know how you just skim through the notes and I'm doing my research. So I was looking like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh, she's a writer. Okay.
Oh, you thought I was a rapper?
I didn't know. I got the information. And if Avion asked me, I say yes to everything. Okay, period. If she could ask me to interview, it doesn't matter because she's not going to ask me to do something that's retarded. So I just trust her. So yesterday I was like, let me do my research. And I'm looking, I went on IMDb and I'm like, okay, where she's not in none of these girls are her. Like, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at them, and I'm like, no, no. And then I'm like, wow,
She's the boss. She's the boss. That's
she
why.
is a freaking boss lady, okay? And so I was like, wait a minute, 20 episodes to Insecure. So then I had to go down the list, like, let me see if she my favorites. They're all my favorite, but I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, this is why Issa Rae is like, okay, I'm passing the torch, and you are just gonna go on to greatness. Like, I love a good writer because I've been writing this book about my son since he was born and he's 24. And I'm still looking for somebody to do the forward.
Oh wow.
That's my writing skills.
Why don't you have your son do the forward?
Right at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Let him tell his side of things.
Right. So let's talk about you, beautiful, and you're gorgeous. See, you don't look like the little geeky writers like 20 years ago when I was writing it. They look like they have been hiding under a rock.
Uh-huh. That's
That's,
what they
that's
say.
right. And then they come out, the beautiful swan. So did you get all swanned up for the interview?
um Yes, but also I feel like I've gotten swanned up over the last however many years. Because the thing about like, yeah, being a writer, it is easy to kind of disappear a little bit because people aren't really looking at you at,
Right.
at first. Um,
At first, right?
at first, but I think with this show, becoming the showrunner and kind of being in charge, it's
Yes.
like people are looking at you a lot more. So it is kind of like, oh, let me try to you know, let me
Well,
try.
I've seen all fly pictures of you, and that's why I was thinking talent. Because every picture I've seen, every image, you're just fly. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I didn't see like even Ava in the beginning, she was more, publicity writer. I could see it.
Mm.
And the biggest question I have for all writers is how do you avoid getting distracted, like staying focused?
Um, I think it's like hunger, really. I think it's that hunger inside of you because this career, it's like you really have to be a self-starter. Nobody's gonna push you to do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like you have to take your career into your own hands. You have to stay inspired. You have to just keep writing, keep putting yourself out there. And if you slack off or you fall back or you're like in any way lax about your work and your career, then that's how everybody else is going to treat it. So I really think you just kind of have to have an internal, oh shit, almost failed.
Uh-oh.
You
You
have
have
to have
editing.
like
You have editing.
you have to have like an internal drive and an internal hunger. And I think for me, I'm like, I have two kids. So there, and honestly, I feel like I really got serious. I got serious before my first son, but having him, I was like, all right, it's now or never. It's
Right.
now or never. Like I wanna, and I know you can relate to that because you're saying that, you have your son that
Yes. They're like, we're your internal hunger. Hello.
yeah,
Hunger.
yeah.
Exactly. Do you have boys or girls?
I have boys. I have two boys.
Me too. How far apart are they?
Six, not a full 6 years, but like five
Okay.
years,
Yeah.
5 years.
Mine's are 4 years apart where they have that little window of big brother and then that little window of bye. And then when they get older though, they come back together, and then they're just this force.
Yeah, they're like starting to fight a lot. I was like looking I was looking at a video of two of them, like, and it was so cute just a year ago when Lennox, my youngest, um could talk, but like not enough to argue. Like that's when it was really, really cute. And now it's like, well, y'all stop it. Like it's
Right. Oh my God, that bickering. I call it
what does a
bickering like the old
9-year-old
folks.
what does a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old have to argue about?
The
Like,
9-year-old thinking he's a baby and not in his league. And
no,
the
my 3-year-old
3-year-old thinking he's
being
the
mean.
boss. He's
My
like, I am the boss. And mom won't let me beat you up because you can't hit me back.
basically.
Yes, I already know. So do you remember the first thing you wrote when you were like, okay, I'm pretty dope?
Oh, you said first thing I wrote?
The first anything you wrote,
Yes,
even if it was a
yes,
poem in
yes.
school.
Um, and it's funny, I was just talking to my cousin about this recently. My cousin came to visit me in New York when I did CultureCon, and I was just telling him, so I was acting at one point. So I was trying to be the talent way back when. Um, and I was in an acting class and for our in college. And for our final, we had to get in groups and come up with a piece that we were going to perform, and I volunteered to write it because I had been writing, but not like
Right,
scripts. You know,
right.
I had like journalism in high school and that sort of stuff, poetry, nothing for film or TV or plays. But so anyway, I was like, well, I'm the only one with some sort of writing experience. I'll write the script for all
Right.
of us to perform for our final. And I ended up writing that and we performed it for the final. And I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but like our piece that we put together was so layered and like so I don't know, like people, it had such a huge response. Like the people who came,
Wow.
other students came, parents came, friends and family to like watch our final and be our audience. And afterwards, people were just like, the story. Oh my God, the story. And I was
Wow.
telling him, I was like, I think that's also what made me shift and say, like, okay, I'm gonna focus. That was the beginning of me focusing more on writing.
That's
Um,
great. That's amazing. You're like,
that's
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but beep beep.
because I was just like, wow, like just seeing, and that was the second time. Because even as a kid, I wrote a short story one time. You know, how sometimes you get to share your work with your class,
Yes.
and I shared my work with the class, and I saw like the response from people, and I think the response is what excited me, and I was like, oh, I love this feeling of people having strong emotional reactions to
Yes. That's what it is right
what
there.
yeah,
Just drawing the people in.
yeah.
So do you have like a history of writers in your family? Or you was just like sometimes our brain is just going faster than everything I used to see at one point when I did a lot of PR for directors and producers, everything was a script. Like I walk into the grocery store and I see all these people talking on their AirPods, and I'm just coming up with a story like just like a whole, like I just wanted to have a video, like my eyeballs be cameras, because it's just like all these different conversations, your ears hustling in, and what different people have going on in their lives. See, that's why they don't need to talk around me, because I'm like, what? No, she didn't.
Yeah, you filling in the blanks like, that's not what
Right, right.
happened. Yeah.
So when you got accepted to write for Issa Rae and Insecure, did they have a writing team, or do they have individual scripts submitted, or how does her writing team work?
Yeah, so the show is staffed. So Issa is the show creator. We had a showrunner named Prentice Penny.
Yeah,
He wrote on Girlfriends. Like he goes way back.
yeah, he
Um,
does. He's awesome.
yeah, he's amazing. And that's who I learned under. And so they staff a room together. And I think we had a staff of about like 11, 12 writers. For I think all 5 seasons, about that many writers. So it's a pretty big writers room. And my first season on the show, I was actually an assistant. I wasn't a writer on the show. So I just got to listen and observe and like learn how to pitch, because you're sitting together. It is a team and you're
Right.
stories together. And, obviously Prentice is deciding what he thinks is best and, what fits the show, but it's really conversation driven.
Right. How essential do you think that was to you, you know, going further in your career and how your mindset, like, did you have a different mindset as to the approach and how it would be as to when you actually was there as an assistant, like, oh, okay.
I knew nothing. I really learned everything along the way. Cause I mean, saying you want to be a writer and then like, I think the first time I read a script was actually like my youth pastor. He wrote scripts on the side and was making his own independent films. And his script was the first script I ever read. Like to just,
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, this is how it's bound together. And this is the
Right.
so it's like, okay, that's what I was trying to do in that acting class, but this is what it's supposed to look like. So I started
Nice.
kind of learning structure there, but I really knew nothing about writers' rooms, how to get into one. It really was that relationship with Issa, who I feel kind of like brought me along. And yeah, I think I was really just learning along the way, like the fact that you staff a room of people and they come together to create something cohesive that you see week after week.
Right.
Um, I didn't know it until I was in it,
Oh,
and
that's how old were you then?
I was 25. I think I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 25, maybe like going, yep, 25, going on 26 when we started Insecure season 1. And yeah, I just like I stuck it out and I was able to just learn from the people around me.
And that probably was good because humility is so needed in this business.
Mhm.
Instead of, well, I've been writing for 25 years and that just don't fly no more because most of the people are younger and they have these fresh new ideas. So they're like, what? We don't do that no more. Like, go ahead somewhere with that. So I think that probably was great that you could see something that was actually successful and going straight to television, not like you guys were all somewhere, spinning your wheels, hoping it would go somewhere, but to actually see the finished product. How exciting was that for you as a creator? Well,
No,
a
really,
writer, creator.
yeah, no, that was really exciting and it was something I wanted to stick around for. Like I believed in it from the beginning. Like I believed in Issa. We'd already seen the success of Awkward Black Girl and like the authenticity of her brand and how well that resonated with people. And so I think yeah, and I was happy to be there. And when you talk about humility, I was just like, I was getting coffees and getting lunches and, scheduling meetings and printing scripts and stapling and binding, like, and I was just grateful. I was so grateful because I was learning. I was getting to be around the thing that I love, even if it wasn't necessarily me doing it at the time.
Oh,
And I realized the value in that position.
yeah.
There's
Just to be in the room is really important.
listening and not feeling like you need to be the one that's talking all the time. You know what I mean? Because sometimes there needs to be a season of, I think, listening and learning for maybe everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was extremely valuable. And like I said, I was a fan too. And I'm a fan of Issa. And I just knew she was gonna make it. And I knew that this show was going to be dope. Like, and as
Right.
the creator behind it, maybe it's not good to know it, but because Issa was just like, we don't know, nothing's promised, nothing's promised. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I see it, I see it. And it's just
She was
like,
our cheerleader. That's right. And you need those type of people around you because that energy just feeds into what you're trying to do. Because just imagine a room full of naysayers like, yeah, girl, I mean, the last one didn't go, you know what I mean? So when everybody's rooting for you, you kind of feel like inside, I think she might have been like, oh, yeah, it's going. Like, you got to win. But then you always want to keep humble and optimistic, like, well, and prepared for if it doesn't, it just seems like her team and herself are always working on the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, rising to new levels. So I was very proud of that. Now tell me about the whole conversation to come up with rap shit. Like, because that seems so like right now, I think that when the young Black girls, the ones I talk to, that if you see somebody doing something that's the same age as if you are, what prevents you from being that person? So seeing these two teenage girls like, okay, we got this, and like just going for it, it kind of put me in that mindset of that's what you guys were trying to show, people out there in the public.
Yeah, Rap Shit was something that like Issa wrote the first episode, the pilot episode for Rap Shit. And just from the concept alone, I was like, this is up my alley. I love hip hop, I love women, I love friendship. I just want to be down. Like I literally was like, how can I be down, girl? And she once it went to series, she brought me on as the showrunner, which was shocking to me, but also like just life changing, right?
Right.
And
That's a big responsibility, right?
yeah, it's definitely a big responsibility. But I think that the idea of these two women making something from the ground up themselves, and taking their careers into their own hands, deciding who they're going to be and how they're going to be represented, making a lot of mistakes along the way. Like I think it's something that a lot of us can relate to. And if not, whatever it is, whatever your passion is,
Right.
that idea of building it yourself and doing it with the people who like you love most, or the people who challenge you the most sometimes. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about like Black women friendship is that we can be mirrors to each other,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and like hold each other accountable and see the ways in which our sister can grow. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things about Rap Shit that we explore and that I really love the most. And it really resonated to me with the story.
So how did you guys like hold the auditions? Was it for people who were rappers or actually actors that you knew were musically inclined?
Both. We asked for literally everybody. Like I want to see everybody's tape. And because the show is set in Miami, we really wanted people who were from Miami, but we soon realized that that was really difficult because I think unlike
Interesting folks in Miami, some interesting rapper folks.
unlike LA and New York where there's like a pipeline, you know what I mean? There are lots of classes and schools that focus on there's an industry around television and film, you
Not in
know,
my
some of these cities, and not so much in Miami. So it was really difficult to find people who were from Miami to come and audition for these roles. So we were really just like, all right, we just had to keep casting a wider net uh,
right.
to find the girls that we ended up finding for the show.
So was there a reason you guys started releasing it like in other countries first?
Girl, I don't know nothing about other countries. I'm
Uh,
like,
I
uh,
was at the recordings like where it was released originally, and it was like Canada, like all these other places besides the US.
oh, see, I don't know. I know like
That's
this
you like,
this
look, I was running the show.
oh no, because the distribution is not like my area,
Right.
but like Max owns and operates the show,
True.
and as far as like where it goes and where you're able to see it. And I know like I think like each country has their own kind of
Yeah.
relationship with that. Because
And that,
there's some places we've been to where it's like, oh, we don't get Max here. And then places that just got Max for the first time this year. So like we just I did an interview with an outlet in Brazil, and they just
yes.
got Max, and like I think one in Colombia as well. And so it was like, oh, it was almost like talking about the show for the first time with these people because they were just now getting access to the content. Like I did a stop in Montreal last year, and they didn't even have Max. But I think we were just like,
You're like, why am I talking to y'all?
no, I loved it. I loved it anyway because I got to go to Montreal, like,
Right,
So,
right, right.
um, but so yeah, I think like the outlets, I don't know who gets what when, but
Right.
it does
No,
seem
I
like
was wondering is because they say music is so universal, if it was a test, like to see if it was in other places that weren't American, how it would be accepted, like if they were doing some little case study, but it could have just been in places where Max was released and how the network was receiving, new content, urban
Yeah.
content too.
But I think that's a good question. I'm curious. Like, I want to know moving forward what that intention behind that is.
Kitty's gonna find out now, girl. She probably already know. She will find out. But I'm excited because I think that this will do wild numbers because there is a lack of new females, like a plethora of female rappers, like there were when I was young. I grew up in South Central LA.
Hey, same.
Yes, born and raised. Okay, like we lived in the same house from the day I was born until I was 18,
Where?
and on 91st between Hoover and Figueroa.
Okay.
So
Yep.
really South Central. I don't know if they renamed that part South LA or they left the Central there. I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived in South Central my whole life. I went from literally I lived between 28th and Western and 90th and Normandy. Like I lived at different places along the
Wow.
lines. And like my mom still lives in I guess I shouldn't say where she live at, but
Right,
like,
right. She
my
still live in South
mom
LA.
is in South
You
LA.
like she's still at 325 East.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, thanks, Sarita. I appreciate that. That's funny. But I did love that I got to go to a taste of what was it? A taste of soul. I had
Mm,
never been to, okay, I've been in Atlanta for 23 years, right? So the last time when I left LA, I was no longer going to big outdoor functions because they always ended in gunshots. So I was a little leery at this taste of soul, like, yeah, it's getting dark. Like, we need to be going. But it was real peaceful.
it has been super peaceful. Like
Yes,
I remember that time where it was just like you can't go to the MLK parade, like you can't go to any
nothing.
because
Ugh.
get shot up.
I was
That,
traumatized in every city I moved to. I was like, no, it's getting dark. What, the park? No, we are going to nobody's park.
yeah, and it's
Traumatized.
been very peaceful. Like one of the most beautiful things to see has been like Juneteenth in Lamert Park and like seeing how many people come out and it's so black and it's so lit and like there's no violence. And I'm like,
Yes, I
I'm
was like, where am I right now? Like, this is
yeah.
really South LA.
And
LA
Taste
comes
of
to
Soul,
South
I
LA.
haven't been to Taste of Soul in so long. I really wanted to go this year, but I couldn't make it. But it's like a reunion. Like the
Yeah,
last
I was in
I've
town
been,
for it. It was just so much happening. I was just like, like a little, I was feeling like certain people when they come to LA and then they have the tourists look, you ought to be careful what you say now. When they have the cameras at Disneyland and they're just taking real touristy, I felt so touristy, but it was just black excellence and everybody with their products and black art and makeup and just everything. So it made me feel really good that there are so many self-employed, and contract worker Black people, because there was a time when we were afraid not to be on somebody's clock, and didn't have confidence in getting gig after gig after gig. So
yeah,
now we're just like owning it, like, no, this is my business, and we figure it out. So
yeah.
I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of all your accomplishments. Now, is there anything you want the people to know about you? Any fun facts that you have for us?
Mm, fun facts. I mean, I need to come up with some new fun facts because I like really just went back to my oldest one from college when they like popcorn you and you gotta be like um, which
The
I'll say,
craziest thing that happened on set, if you
oh
can remember,
wait. What's your
the
question?
craziest thing that ever happened on set.
Ooh.
So whichever one you can remember first, you can answer it. You can go back to the fun fact now.
No, I know. Let me see. Okay, so I'll go back to the fun fact, which is that I know American Sign Language. I
Oh,
went to
that's
uh,
excellent.
I went to a deaf school actually in the Crenshaw area, right off Marlton near the Jungles, in elementary school, and I learned to sign. So
You still
that's a
remember?
yeah, I do. Like, cause I be if it was something that I didn't want to lose. So I would go back and do classes to like stay fresh on my sign. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's been a few years, but like I still practice. I still
That's
practice because
great. I thought about doing one of like when I do interviews, there's a girl here and have someone sign
Hmm,
like one of the boxes. So that way I could, when I put them up, we could reach wider audiences and more people can know about it.
I think that's
I don't know
amazing.
how many shows they're gonna do where they can actually, interpret or if they just could read lips.
Yeah, I think, but also there's closed
Yeah,
caption,
there's closed captioning.
and I
Okay.
think like a
Well, it's still
lot.
a good idea. Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't have to, not, interpreters are great, but maybe for like live experiences, I
Yeah.
feel like that's where it's probably most needed. But at the same time, I think your audience, if you have people in your audience, they'd be so happy to see,
Yes. Because
that
I
extra.
love seeing people do that. I have a sister, a half sister that is deaf. And she at 9 months old, she just lost her hearing. But now she is a professor at two universities at one of the in DC, like the only sign language university in the world. So the fact that
Wow,
she has her master's and she's teaching others, it's like she took lemons and made lemonade. Okay.
yeah,
Yes. So I
amazing.
love that you can sign because I'm like, oh man, girl, I can't even remember English all the time.
Look, okay, all right, it's hard. It's
Right.
so hard, but
So if someone didn't have any connections, what would be a suggestion if they wanted to write and to just get it out there
um,
besides just do it like Nike?
I mean, right. Besides that, like some practical steps. I think you find a community. First of all, write the thing if you haven't written it already.
Right.
Um, get some books and research how to write something. Um, and structure it properly so that people can like see it and see that you're serious about it. And
Right.
then once you get that together, I would suggest starting with something short. Start with a short film, 5 to 10 minutes, or even under if it's depending on the idea.
Right.
Um, and then find some other people who are passionate about lighting, who are passionate about directing, who are passionate about acting, and who will do it just because they love it and they're trying to get their voices out there too.
Right.
Get
Okay.
together,
Find your tribe.
find a tribe, get together, make something, and share it.
I love it. That's good advice. That's good advice. Get off
And
your butt. Do
rinse and do it again and again and again, and I promise like you'll get better at it, and also people will start paying attention, and then they'll know that like you're about it, because that's the difference between you and other people is you're actually doing it.
Yep.
um
That's
so
great.
my so it is just do it, but also it's like just do it with a
Right.
strategy.
No, it makes, so you ever get writer's block? Like
um
you're writing, like say for yourself, not like in a group setting and you're writing something and then you're just like stuck.
my writer's block is not like I can't come up with anything, although I have had times where I don't necessarily feel inspired, but the reason why is because I have a different hat on.
Okay.
That's my hardest thing, is because I'm a producer as well. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
it's hard to sometimes take the producer thinking about the budget, thinking about how do we make the thing, even when I'm in promotion mode and I'm like going and I'm talking about what I did before.
Right.
Hard to then be like, okay, now let's start making something new, to just kind of switch on and off. So I think that's where, and sometimes I'm forced to, because it's like deadlines are deadlines. So
Right.
it chats, you know,
That's
and
true.
that
I
to me.
used to watch a film get made. Now, like when I watch a movie, now I'm looking at the
Wrapping up,
shadows in the
Janelle.
background. So you want me to start wrapping it up?
Yes,
Right.
time to wrap.
Yeah. I'm looking at the shadows in the background and like, oh, the lighting is dim. Like, oh, they didn't have that lighting budget right. They should have spent less on this actress and got that light together. You already know where the budget went. Sometimes, just by being in that environment so long. But it was beautiful talking to you. I know you have a schedule. It's 3:03. Wow, they was like, you said 30 minutes. But thank you so much for sharing. And I hope we get to talk again. And promise me that when you guys do a screening in Atlanta, that you don't be acting like you don't know me on the red carpet. Okay.
I got you. I
Okay.
promise. And
All right.
make sure again, I have to plug the show. It's out tomorrow, like literally
Tomorrow.
November 9th on Max. I'm sure you could do a free trial if you don't have it, but binge season 1 if you haven't seen it. The first 2 episodes come out tomorrow.
Great. So everybody's gonna watch it. I'm gonna put a little piece up on my socials tomorrow. It's on.
Yes.
Popping.
Thank you, Jonelle.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, I'll send you all her